Hey, welcome back to the show. Subscribe to the channel, please. Like the video, tell your friends and family. Thank you very much. Let's talk jobs. Specifically, the July Employment Situation Report released last Friday at 8:30 a.m. As is always the case, the first Friday of every month is the most important economic data point on the planet. The Employment Situation Report, the jobs outlook for the largest economy on the planet, very important. Everyone pays attention to it, all traders, all investors. Comes out in 5 components, beginning with the headline number, the non-farm payrolls number, the net job creation for the prior month, again in July. Then we have average hourly earnings, average weekly hours, how many hours we work each week, and 2 unemployment rates. The headline unemployment rate, the U3 rate, the most popular publicized rate coming from the BLS series. And then we have the U6 rate, one of the broadest measures of unemployment in the economy, the more accurate measure of unemployment, the measure we should all look at. That includes discouraged workers, people that are out of the workforce, no longer looking for work, although they are able-bodied adults who could work. And so you can see here on the screen the data with respect to the actual number, the forecast in the prior month. The column on the left is the actual number released for July. The middle column is the forecast, the expectations from a group of economists working for major banks, and the right-hand column is the data for the prior month. So we had non-farm payroll 73,000, way below expectations of 106, but above the prior month of 14,000. We have average hourly earnings of 0.3%, as expected, a little higher than the prior month of June. We had the average weekly hours at 34.3. This doesn't move too much and has been pinned in these low 34 levels since Obamacare was passed in 2010. The U3 rate, the narrow measure, 4.2%, as expected, a touch higher than the prior month of June. And the broader measure, U6 unemployment rate, 7.9%, up 0.2% from the prior month in June. So not a great report, not way off what we've seen for many years now, a slow growth economy. And we look into the details of the report, you find, as always, most of the jobs are part-time jobs. Many of the jobs are going to foreign nationals, and more people are working multiple part-time jobs than ever. So this data came out on Friday, and Papa Trump was not happy, said those are the wrong numbers. And on Friday, he fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner Erica McEntarfer, claiming the numbers are wrong or rigged against him. And the evidence they did provide was the revisions. And so this brings up a long-standing concern for market economists, market watchers, investors, the accuracy of economic data. We usually think of this in global terms about which countries have the most accurate economic data. We often talk about China as having the least accurate data, the most manipulated data. For decades, certainly for most of my adult life observing the US economy and tracking economic data, there's always been a hint of suspicion underlying every data release that political pressures can impact economic data releases and if the number is going up or down, given whatever the number is. But generally speaking, there's been a belief in the US that our numbers are largely as accurate as they can be, that they're not really impacted by political efforts to sway the numbers one way or the other, although there's obviously plenty of incentive to do so. It began to creep in more regularly during the Obama administration, kind of cooled off a little bit during Trump 1, again reignited suspicion of the economic data during the Biden administration, especially when it comes to this data, the non-farm payroll data, the Employment Situation Report. And now here we are, everyone's now suspicious, and everyone's going to be suspicious moving forward because of what President Trump said and did on Friday. Let's have a quick listen to what the president did have to say.
Mr. President, why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Because I think her numbers were wrong.
Wrong!
Just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala. I guess Biden/Kamala, and she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected. Then right after the election, I think on the 15th, November 15th, she had an $800,000 or $900,000 massive reduction. Said she made a mistake. That woman's numbers are.
So her numbers are wrong, providing no proof. Now, the assertion he's making regarding Biden numbers is absolutely true. The conservative-leaning media, the right-leaning media, were all over the non-farm payroll data, the Employment Situation Report for every month and during the Biden term. Speculating manipulation, trying to find evidence of economic weakness in the numbers. Trump doesn't know if the numbers are wrong. He doesn't have any details, and it's likely she didn't actually compile the numbers. It's likely she has a large team of people doing so. Now, let's remind each other, these economic data series are not perfect. And that should be okay with us as in a free market capitalist society. In order to get perfect data, you need the government in your business all the time, every day. But this is just an oversensitive president who believes that he has the hottest economy. He says it's a lot. We have the hottest economy. The world wants to be here. And that these numbers can't possibly reflect what he's done so far in the first 6 months. Now, what we have to remind ourselves again is the lag effects of policy decisions. And to the extent that Donald Trump has done anything meaningful yet, so we're talking about the big, beautiful bill, we're talking about tariffs, we're talking about immigration, the real impacts on the economy aren't quite known yet. It's still going to take some time. It's been 6 months. We're getting there. Another month or two, we'll see a little bit more evidence of the things he's done. But the economy was struggling before the president came in. The economy's been struggling for a long time now. It's a slow growth economy with lots of headwinds, lots of structural problems that the president is trying to address, no question. Many of the things he's doing, though, were initially negative impacts for the economy. When it comes to immigration and trade, shutting down government spending in some areas. So this reaction is just Trump being Trump, of course. Firing the head of the BLS is not going to help market players, global investors, economists feel more confident that the data is going to be more accurate now. Trump's National Economic Council Director, Kevin Hassett, he says that it's the revisions that are evidence that support the firing of Erica, Mick, and Tarfer. That's true, but revisions are a constant part of economic data analysis. As time goes by, the collectors of data get more and more information that they can use to update information that was recently released, and that's okay. We want that. There's a lot of extrapolation in these data series, and so over time they can become more accurate. Revisions that relate to seasonalities, job hiring in the summer, those jobs go away in the fall and the winter. Jobs come during Christmas, they go away in January. We have all kinds of seasonalities that have to be fussed with in order to smooth data. And so the idea that the jobs report is rigged is possible, although there's no clear evidence that's the case. And it, of course, is part of suspicions that have been in place for a long time. Now, those suspicions have elevated dramatically. Keep in mind, the employment situation report is made up of two components, the household survey and the establishment survey. And that is accurate. Most data that we collect is based on surveys sent out to households and businesses. And we depend on honesty in those surveys, accuracy on those surveys, that they are filled out completely and regularly. And so we can have all kinds of reasons why the data might not be accurate on the day it's released and how it could become more accurate as time goes by. What really ticked off Trump in this data release was the revisions downward. So if you look at the BLS data, you can see total non-farm employment changed little in July, up 73,000, below expectations, but better than June. And the unemployment rate, the headline rate, the U3 rate was 4.2%, also little change from June. And so we have two surveys that makes up this report. The household survey, which measures labor force status like unemployment and demographic characteristics. And the establishment survey, which is to businesses, is about numbers employed, hours worked, and earnings. And so from the household survey, we get the unemployment rate at 4.2%, the U3 rate at 7.2%. We have the labor force participation rate, which is at 62.2%, and we have the employment population ratio at 59.6%. Two numbers that have been pegged near lowest for some time now, decades. Then we go to the establishment survey, and we get the more details on number of jobs, what sector created lots of jobs. In this case, for July, it was healthcare rate at 55,000 jobs. Social assistance was up. Government employment was down 12,000 jobs. That's, of course, the Trump effect, Doge. And it's down 84,000 since the peak in January. So Trump is following through on his promise there. There you go, right there. Right. So Trump wants strong numbers, but he's firing government employees. And then what we get, which really ticked off Trump, is the revisions. And revisions, again, are common. And revisions for May and June were larger than normal. The change in total non-farm payroll employment for May was revised down by 125,000 from 144,000 to 19,000. And the change for June was revised down by 133,000 from 147,000 to 14,000. And so that's 258,000 jobs fewer than were reported initially. So Trump lashed out in a way that's probably not going to be helpful, and certainly going to do nothing to bolster the world's confidence in our numbers. And easy to suggest that the firing damages or undermines the credibility of the Bureau of Labor Statistics and, of course, the president. And so now President Trump wants to put their guy in, their woman in. Kevin Hassett, he said the president wants his own people there, suggesting the data will be more transparent and more reliable with a Trump appointee. That's not going to be the case now, I'll tell you that. So he stepped into here. He's muddied the waters because he's so sensitive, and he believes that he has this hot economy going. And by the way, if we have this hot economy going, then we don't want the Fed cutting rates. He was happy when we got the GDP data at 3%. He's unhappy when we get the non-farm payroll data only up 75,000 in the revision downward for the prior months. Yet he wants the Fed to cut rates, yet he's suggesting the economy is hot and potentially overheating. Little mixed messages coming out of the Trump team on economics. Anyway, not helpful. Trump firing the commissioner in a way that he did, and of course, believing the numbers are wrong. All right, that's all I have for you right now. Always try to buy American.